everybody. It's Chuck Schultz again with Patriot Builders, PFC, and Michigan Sawmill Sales. I have been getting a lot of calls lately, so I'm doing a little impromptu. Didn't even think, I just figured I'm in the shop today. I'm gonna let the camera roll and just kind of go off on a subject of what I've been being asked for mostly in it seems like in about the last month. I get a lot of people, whether it be an email inquiry or a phone call, wanting to know if we do shell builds. This is kind of a loaded question. My guts, I want to build shell builds, right? Well, not right, I'm assuming you understand, but maybe you don't. But I also don't want to give the wrong impression too, because as building contractor, the hardest portion of any job that we do when it's a total complete build is the last 10%. That last 10% is when everything's finally coming together. We're trying to meet deadlines, whether we are a little behind schedule, ahead of schedule, it doesn't matter. The homeowner wants in their house. The general contractor wants to be done with the job. The fatigue is there because it's a short-term marriage, so to speak. The average home is going to take anywhere from 7 to 12 months to build. In our post-frame world, we're seeing about an 8-month average turnaround time from shovel to dirt to closing. So we're trying to get everything finished, and the white glove inspections, the building inspections, everything perfect for the homeowner, and and that's when all the things come out in the build. And of course, every building contractor out there would love to do a shell build. I'd love to just do the funnest 35-40% of the job and hit the road, right? Especially as me as a tradesman. I'm a framer by trade, and so that's the most exciting part of the build for me. The finish is usually not the most exciting. I mean, it's nice to see the finished product and everything. I love that part, but the push, and it's of no fault of anybody's, because we all got to put ourselves in both parties' positions. As the building contractor, we're trying to get this done. We're trying to get everything done, finalized out, paid out, everything done, everybody whole, people moved in, and take a breather and get ready to plan the next project. The homeowners, whether their conditions were while the home is being constructed, whether they have a home they already live in and plan to put it on the market, they've already sold their house and they're renting somewhere and they're on the verge of having to sign another lease, so they're hurrying up trying to get out of the house because we had a little, maybe there was a little delay in the action, so we're trying to make sure everybody it doesn't cost anybody anything, right? So the homeowners are trying to get out, or the homeowners are living with their parents again, that they haven't done since they were 20 years old, 18, 20 years old when they moved out, and they realized why they moved out, to go on their own, right? Couldn't live with their parents anymore. You're there for 2 months and you're already ready to leave. So the tensions of everything really start to pile up naturally and innocently for both parties. And so the hardest 10% of any build, let me rephrase that, the hardest part of any build is the last 10%. And a lot of your novice building contractors that normally they wouldn't do a total build contract because they don't have to deal with that portion of the job. They're now in the running for you building your home. Or they just don't have the experience and knowing how to take the home to start to fruition. So they're in the running to compete to build your shell build. There's a lot of time I try to tell people, I'm trying to say this with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of people out there qualified to understand the build process and to do it themselves, or to be a GC if they really wanted to, right? But at the end of the day, most people building a home in the rough stages don't know if they have a good canvas to finish or not. It'd be like if you were an artist and you do paintings and you're buying the canvas for you to put your artwork on, to do your finish, but you bought a piece of crap canvas, so it was bound to rot out or rip or something really easy. Most people don't know the structure in a way that if it's a good job or not. And then you find out if it is during the finish process and whether or not you're really going to spend a lot of money. So I caution everyone out there looking to build, and especially with these post frame homes, or what people love to say barndominiums. They're trying to find the most economical, cheapest way to get into a home. And a barndominium, or post frame home is what they should be called, is a more cost-effective alternative to get into a home. And they're clouded with there's a lot of Facebook groups or social media groups out there, or plugs out there that talk about this barndo for $150,000. It's not possible, folks. It's just not possible. And for a building contractor anyway, if you want to go use all resale goods and everything else and be your own contractor, do all the work, every bit of the work yourself, as much as you humanly possibly can, it might be attainable. But it doesn't exist. And a lot of expectation into what these are from all these groups is giving people false hopes. And now we're starting to see that shark end of the business end, these shell companies, or we'll get you your shell build and then you finish it out. One of the other reasons why a contractor might be wanting to build you a shell package, or niching their business as a shell builder kind of situation, is that as soon as they take their name off the building permit and yours or somebody else's go on, it takes a lot of liability off of their backs, and you end up with that taillight warranty for the work that they performed in the beginning. Maybe that's good for some people, but that is I'm trying to be careful with the words that I pick. What I want to say, that's the coward's way out. Or that's where you get the incompetent people in and out before they know they're incompetent to be doing the job. As any part of general contracting, whether you're general contracting half of the build or the whole thing. And when they leave and they pass the baton off to you, the homeowner, and they transfer that building permit into your name, or even worse, if they con you to pull the building permit yourself, even worse, you now are holding all the liability of the build. And I don't know, which is a whole nother video I think could be with describing what liability holds onto the building permit holder, what that means, what the gravity of that is. And then all of that gets shifted onto the homeowner. Now there are homeowners out there, or people wanting to build their own homes, that have the wherewithal or have some experience in their past that knows how to contract or GC their project, and they may understand these liability issues or whatnot. But there's a lot of people out there that don't really understand what's going on. And I say this to a lot of people when I talk to them, that they know more about buying a car sometimes than they know about making, in some people's situations, the biggest investment of their life. And if a shell build was a great business plan with integrity for both parties involved all the way around, you would see building of other things like that, like GM, Ford, and Chrysler, or any of the other automakers. Yeah, we're going to sell you the rolling chassis, and you got to put all your interior in it. I mean, there are situations where you can make that happen in commercial world, different things, but at the end of the day, you'd see them doing it a lot more. But it just doesn't happen. And I think, as much as I would like to say I do them, I don't advertise to do them. I don't want to swim in that end of the pool, if that makes any sense. I don't want to be mixed up with that end of the industry. I will do them, but I will always warn somebody and let them know that if that's how it's going to roll and that's how we do the project for you, fine, but please know when we leave and your name now goes on that building permit or what, that's who's responsible for this thing at that time. Warranties, it's a gray area now. There's a lot of these things that people need to understand when they get these shell builds. And then all the marketing. I'll get your barndominium for, $96,000 or $142,000. You can have your own, there's a kit. What people don't realize is half the time that is the package price for the framing lumber, the siding, the roofing, and generic windows, and you have to do it all. No concrete, no footing. It's like, you gave them the price of, a little more than 2/3 of the entire build. It's been my practice. I have done this a few times where I've taken a couple of our project build costs, taken all the things out to give the client the shell, and we found out you can take that price, multiply it times about 1.5, 1.6, and that's what it would be the total cost if you had hired us to do it the whole.
Whoops, I'm sorry guys, I have to do a little editing here. My mouth got a little faster than my brain. That ratio for a shell build is usually about 2/5 of the cost of the total build, or 150 to 160% on top of the shell building cost is what the total cost of construction will be.
Now, the argument comes in there, well, now I don't have that build fee in there. There's no markup on all the trade. That's part of the build fee. And when people save the building fee or the build fee or the contractor fee, they're really not saving that. They're saving the money transaction, but they're trading it off with the currency of time. So if I build a house and part of my building fee is $50,000 for easy math, I'm trading my time and my resources for $50,000. And then also my liability, my reputation, all that other stuff. So when you're really saving the $50,000, say if you did your own total build and you were your own GC, you're saving $50,000 of instantaneous cash expense. But you're trading it for your commodity of time. And sometimes, and in a lot of cases, the self-builds drag on for a lot longer than it is with a building contractor, per se. They go on for, in some cases, almost double the time. So when you think about it in that context, that might give an idea of where that is maybe not the best savings. The savings comes in when you're doing your own contracting, whether it's you had somebody come in and do a shell build and you take it from there, or you are your own general contractor in your build. The savings comes in is that you have the power to make a purchase however you deem necessary when that opportunity for a change, or you found, oh wow, we found out a cheaper way to do this. We can make that you can make that executive decision now in real time. That is a huge thing. A building contractor, as soon as they deviate from their contract, we got to create change orders and everything. It is a nightmare sometimes, and that's why when some people look at change orders, they're like, oh my God, they're screwing me with change orders. Well, it screws up the critical path of construction to do change orders. Even when you catch a change in time, it still costs us more to do it then than it did if we would originally plan for that item that is now a change. So as a self-build, it gives you the freedom to shop in real time as we're moving along for the cheapest goods that you want to buy, grade of material at any given point. If it's used, you can, in some cases, buy used equipment to put in your house. A building contractor cannot do that and expect to stay in business. If I did that, I'd get hung. You know, I wouldn't put a used furnace in there because I got a fall off the truck deal. So that wouldn't work. Even if I could get away with it, that is unethical. So you as a homeowner or a self-built contractor, your own GC, you have the power to do all that stuff. You can shop at the resale stores. You can shop online. You can look at stuff. Let me give a scenario. This is probably not the best one. I'm starting the project and I know I got a lot of underground waste lines to put in, right? And I'm going to need, I don't know, 150 foot of 3-inch Schedule 40 PVC. And somebody on Craigslist or Marketplace is selling it for literally 50% off what I would pay for at the supply warehouse or Home Depot. Well, I'm building my own house. I can do that. So what if it's dirty? It's got spray paint on it, right? So what? If I put that stuff into my homes and my homeowners come walking through and they see stuff that's old, even though it's intact, and they know they're expecting me giving them a price that I've paid for new product to put in their home. So that is where a self-build really can start saving the homeowner some money. Removing the building fee or the general contracting fee out of the equation, in all actuality, may not save them very much at all, if any, because a lot of times now, all of your sub-trades that you hire for the things that you're not going to do, a lot of times they got a reputation and a relationship with the builders, and they get better pricing sometimes. Maybe not much. Sometimes I joke around with my sub-trades that I don't get the best deals that we can put into the houses. I mean, but I try to pick good contractors that do good quality work. You know, one big thing in these barndominiums or post frames that is a critical thing to have done right is the initial concrete setting of the floor. You know, the footings aren't a showpiece, but the floor in most cases is. Even if we do a standard pour, our floors are our finished floors. So I gotta make sure I have a contractor that is locked on, can make practices that minimizes flaws, and we're dealing with concrete. It's very difficult to be completely 100% flawless in concrete because of those 3 guarantees. It's heavy and nobody's going to steal it. It gets really hard and it's going to crack, right? Those are those 3 guarantees. And we try to do everything we can to control those situations. And so I spend probably on average about 30 cents, maybe 40 cents more a square foot for the contractor I choose to use. And the reason for that is that they really do a good job. They take their time doing the preparation. I get uniform, almost perfect thickness anywhere. If I wish I could just do a test on some of mine and core the holes all over the floor, and you would see that the floor thickness would be very, very uniform. And that is one of the things that I really appreciate my contractor doing. So that homeowner or somebody being their self-builder, doing a self-build job, may not have the connections or the understanding or the wherewithal to find those people that can do a job like that, or maybe there's no relationship established and they're going to spend $1 more a square foot having that same project, same quality of pour. And now they're going to have to put floor coverings on. So now it's so ugly. Now we got to put $15,000, $20,000 worth of floor coverings in the house. So what did you really save, right? In our jobs, that concrete contractor, yeah, I pay them a little bit of a premium, but they give me, I believe, more of a premium back in the quality of job that they do for not only me, my homeowners. And so I just wanted to touch base a little bit on some of this stuff. If any of you have a question on anything to do with these post frames, or advice, if you want to see some plans that are real post frame plans that are, I guess you would say, in the real category of barndominiums, look at our website, mipolebarnhomes.com. Those homes are guaranteed to work. They're guaranteed to have available space for certain systems to work in the home. They're not drawn by a fly-by-nighter in an office cubicle in some other state. Most of them on my website we have already built. All of them I have already bid out and probably will build, or just the build project never launched. Please check our stuff out, mipolebarnhomes.com. And I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, like, subscribe, and share it. I know I'm not the best videographer, but I know I'm real. So until next time, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll have more content on our post frames. And they're not condominiums, and they're not barns. Why do they say barndominium? That's my thing. Michigan Pole Barn Home, there's only one place to get one. It's through Patriot Builders. It's our trademark. Have a nice day.